menorah. Bluzhev, everyone. Chaim. Give him a bissel Chaim.
What would you like? Hi. Thanks for dropping by.
Give him a bissel. Hey, I hadn't seen you in a while. Welcome. Good Woche. Good Chodesh. Good Chanukah. Let's get this smoky stuff. I don't like smoke. Really good. I don't like smoke. I don't know why. When I sent to buy,
Can I have a little of that
one.
too? Please.
Chaim. Not wrong. It's the right one.
Thank you.
The right one. Middle of the winter, full smoke. Chaim. Chaim Lefracha Yidden. Aye, so we invite tonight, this great, holy, powerful day of Hanukkah, seventh night of Hanukkah. Aneda Salolu Koideshem. We're talking about the ultimate Nedois, the Nedois that lit up and continue to illuminate the entire world, the powerful lights of the essence of the Torah that is revealed through the greatest Tzadikim. And if we are to summarize Chassidus, was tut sich dort in der Weiberschule? Was tut sich dort in der Weiberschule? Ich weiß nicht, was tut sich in der Weiberschule. So, l'chaim to all the ladies. They worked so hard. They always work so hard. In honor of the tzaddik. So if we are to really summarize Chassidus Chabad and reach the peak of Chassidus Chabad, the ultimate zenith and the climax of Chassidus Chabad, you have to come to the Mittler Rebbe. The Mittler Rebbe is the Ein Sof Gush. The Mittler Rebbe is Chassidus. Chassidus Chabad came to the world to do a lot of things. Ultimately, to make the Eibishter a home in this world. That's the Rebbe's job, to complete that work. The Alter Rebbe, he's the founder of the whole Indian. But what's Chassidus itself? Who's Chassidus itself? Pnimius HaTorah in its purity, in its complete Ein Sofishkeit, if you might say, its boundlessness. That's the Mittler Rebbe. So one time the Tzemach Tzedek related that the Alter Rebbe after Yom Kippur, after davening, right after davening, after Ma'ariv, the Alter Rebbe summoned his son, Rabbi DovBer, the Mittler Rebbe. He said, "Ben, you come over here. You should come to his room." So the Mittler Rebbe came to speak to his father. Tzemach Tzedek was young and maybe still a kid. He was never a kid, but he was young. He was a boy. And he very much wanted to hear what the Alter Rebbe was going to say to the Mittler Rebbe, so he stuck his hand in the door. So when the Mittler Rebbe tried to close the door behind him, the door got stuck. So he took a look what's blocking the door, and he saw his little nephew, later to be his son-in-law. So the Tzemach Tzedek, all he needed, didn't even have to ask. Just with his eyes, with his yearning eyes, the Mittler Rebbe knew what the Tzemach Tzedek wants. That he wants to hear this conversation that the Alter Rebbe is going to have with his son after Yom Kippur in that highest moment. So the Mittler Rebbe had Rachmanis on the Tzemach Tzedek, and he let him in. He came in, and he heard the Alter Rebbe said to his son, he said, "Better than you." He said, "There was a big Ketrugim today. Today, they were judging you up there, Lamaila, today. And there were those on the right side and those on the left side. And it's a mazel that it was an Eis Ratzin. It was a time of goodwill above. And another addition you had working for you was that I was working on your behalf." That's what he told the son, basically, you know what? I took care of you today. So Tzemach Tzedek was relating this to his son. So the son, I forgot already which one of his children, said to his father, and what was the Mittler Rebbe thinking during that time when his father was telling this to him? So the Tzemach Tzedek said the Mittler Rebbe was thinking one thing. He wasn't even, he couldn't even hear so much what his father was telling him about Ketrugim, him, that. He was thinking one in you. Where does he find a young man, that can go into the Alter Rebbe right after Havdalah and ask for Chassidus? That was the only thing in his mind. He just wanted Chassidus. And he knew that his father's not going to give it to him. He was thinking the whole time, where does he find a young man to go into the Alter Rebbe after Havdalah and to get him to say Chassidus? And the Tzemach Tzedek continued. And he said that it is known that Rabbi Avram HaMalach, son of the Mezritcher Maggid, Rabbi Avram HaMalach, when he said Yoitzer Oyer, when he davened every day, and he would get to the bracha of Yoitzer Oyer, Revoyer Choshech, Birchas Kriya Shema, he was so ablaze, he was so fired up with love of Hashem, so intense was his dveikus at that time, that literally, if you would put a candle or a match to his body, it would ignite. That's what the Tzemach Tzedek related about the Malach. That if you would put a flame to the body of Avram HaMalach, when he said Yoitzer Oyer every day, and the Tzemach said, Beli Guzma, it's not a Guzma. It literally would go on a fire from the fire that was in the Malach's body at that time when he would say Yoitzer Oyer. So the Tzemach Tzedek said, and with my shver, the Mittler Rebbe, is without a Guzma, that if you'd cut open his body, blood wouldn't flow, Chassidus would flow. What he had flowing in his veins was Chassidus. And this is one time that Tzemach Tzedek said it. Another time that Tzemach Tzedek said the same word about the Mittler Rebbe, or another version. But another time that Tzemach Tzedek said, after the Mittler Rebbe passed away and the Tzemach Tzedek took over, and the Tzemach Tzedek said Chassidus, a chassid of the Mittler Rebbe who heard the Tzemach Tzedek, and he was used to what's called in Chassidus Rechoives Hanor. He's used to the memorim of the Mittler Rebbe that went on and on and on, and it was like endless. It was like, as we mentioned earlier, an endless flow. He heard the Chassidus from the Tzemach Tzedek, and the Tzemach Tzedek said very bekitzer. So he said to the Tzemach Tzedek when he came into Yechidus, the same mimer I heard from you, I heard from the Shved, I heard the same mimer ba'arichus, and you said so bekitzer. That's what he said. I don't know if it was a complaint. I don't know exactly what his situation was. Tzemach Tzedek said petach. Petach means you fool. He said the Shver, my father-in-law, hat gemacht von a Wort a Kvort. He would make from one word, he would make a whole quart. A quart is a big pitch, a big pail. From one word. This week, Friday night, and he said, as me wollt geschnitten dem Schwer, if you would cut the Mittler Rebbe's finger or something, blood wouldn't come, Chassidus would come. The third instance of that same teaching that the Tzemach Tzedek said was when one of his sons, I think it was the kapuster, and they were reading him a shidduch with for one of his children, and the one that was being read was one of the Gedolei Tzadikim. Doesn't say which one, but one of the Gedolei Tzadikim must have been one of the big Polish Rebbes, one of the big Chassidim. And when he went to his father to be matzia him this shidduch to his father. The Tzemach Tzedek stood up. And the Tzemach Tzedek said, this person that they're being reading, the Mechutin over here is a very great man. Aber zu dein Zeder kommt nicht. Aber zu dein Zeder, to your grandfather, the Mittler Rebbe, can't compare. Aber wollt geschnitten, the finger, and the Mittler Rebbe, wollt sich gegossen Chassidus. If you would cut the finger of the Mittler Rebbe, would pour Chassidus. So you're dealing with the Mittler Rebbe, Kol Kula, his entire being was purely Chassidus. He was born, amazing story with the birth of the Mittler Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe was 14 years and he didn't have any boys. The Alter Rebbe only had daughters, didn't have any sons for 14 years after his chasana. And he came to his Rebbe, the holy Mezritcher Maggid, to ask for a bracha. And Mezritcher Maggid told him, Bameh Yezak Henar es Orchoi. How is one zoiche, b'mei yizake? How does someone have his chus, nar, for a child? Nar is a child. It's orchoi through hachnosas orchim. That was the bracha. Now, what exactly hachnosas orchim the Alter Rebbe did after that, I don't know. There's no related story about that, but this was a bracha. But then, it was a few days before the Maggid's passing. The Maggid, we know, was passed away on Yutes Kislev in the year Tov Kuf Lamed Gimel. That's the year of the Maggid's passing, which is 1772. And it was 2-3 days before that. The Alter Rebbe was by his Rebbe, the Maggid. The Maggid was frail and close to, obviously, 3. The Maggid said to the Alter Rebbe, 3 days before Mesiras HaPikadon, 3 days before you give back the Pikadon. Pikadon is that which has been entrusted to you. The Eibishter entrusted to everybody on a Neshama. 3 days before you give back the Pikadon, obviously this doesn't apply to everybody, but only people like the Maggid. At that point, you don't see anymore the physical world. You only see the Dvar Havaya. You see the Word of God creating everything. You don't see the world. You see Getlichkeit, only a Lakus. And then he said like this, Chazoy Navadya. No, he said before that. Let me say before that. He started telling the Alter Rebbe tremendous secrets related to the Vachnach. Vachnach is the night before a bris milah. A father, the minig is the father is up all night, guarding his son. And the Maggid started relating to the Alter Rebbe big secrets about the night of a Vachnach. And the Maggid says to the Alter Rebbe, how come you're not asking me the Seder of a Shalom Zachar? You should also ask me what's the order of a Shalom Zachar, which you'd make Friday night when a baby boy is born, the Friday night after the birth, make a special gathering, people come, l'chayim and all that. What's the Seder? Obviously there's a great mystical secret over here. What's the Seder? The Alter Rebbe said as follows, Ich bin marigish, I feel and I sense that the Torah that my Rebbe, my holy master, is being mezaka me right now with, is giving me right now, is a serusa d'liela. It's bepchenas tala de notif ma'atika. It's not something that you can evoke from below. It's the dew that comes down from atik, from atika, from the deepest, highest secrets. And therefore, it's not something that I can ask for. And on that level, the Alter Rebbe says, on the level of Tala de Notik Ma'atika, on such a level of dew that comes down from such a high place, it says about it, Va'atem Tachrishin. When the Yidden were by the Yamsuf, it says, Hashem Yelachim Lechem, Hashem will fight for you, and you be silent. Why? The Zohar says, we'll be silent because Ba'atika Talia, this is dependent on Atik Yoimin, and it's a level, loitis ari midu. You can't evoke this place. It has to be given as a gift. And it's when the Alter Rebbe related this, these words, he went into a deep dveikus. When he was relating this inyan, he went into a deep dveikus, and he put his hands on his face for a long time, and then he picked up his hands from his face, and he said these words. He said, which on this level it says that loitis ari midi, don't make an isoidus. And when the Alter Rebbe said that, whoever was recording this said that the face of the Alter Rebbe at that moment was like the same face the Alter Rebbe had on Yom Kippur when he was during davening. But by Yom Kippur, the Alter Rebbe had his face turned away, so you couldn't really see him. So maybe someone once got a glimpse. But at this moment, he was standing and relating. You can just from our own perspective. The Alter Rebbe was reliving the Maggid telling him this. And that moment of the deepest pleasure you can imagine when he's receiving the highest secrets being poured to him. Then the Maggid continues, and he said, you're right. You're right. You're sensing correctly. And then he said to the Alter Rebbe like this, Chazoin Avadya was Parshas Vayishlach. Vayishlach always comes out of Yutes Kislev. The Haftarah of Parshas Vayishlach is Chazoin Avadya. Begins with the words, a vision of Avadya. So the Maggid says, Chazoin Oivadya, Chazoin Oived Yudke. I have a vision. There is a vision of Oived Yudke, the one who serves Yudke. that's the tzaddik, he's talking about himself. I have a vision. A child is going to be born to you, and name him in my name. You should call him after me. And then, on the night of the Vachnach, you should remember what I told you tonight, and you should mention it as well. You should relate it. So you see that the Maggid, the Mizritcha Maggid, he's leaving this world, and the instructions he gives to his favorite student is about the big, big neshama that's going to come to him, and he wants him named after him. When the Mittler Rebbe was born, in a sense, the Alter Rebbe said, I should have named him Reb Hamnuna Saba. That should have been his name. Reb Hamnuna Saba is one of the great, great, great sages of the Zohar. He's called Reb Hamnuna Saba because he's like the fish, ancient fish. His neshama is like from a whole different place. But the reason I couldn't name him that way is because the Rebbe asked me that I should name him after him. In other words, the neshamas of the deepest mystical souls that are out there. Which leads us to another amazing story. At the Mittler Rebbe, one time after his wedding, he went to spend Shabbos by his in-laws. I forgot already which town it was. When he was there was one of the old Chassidim of the Alter Rebbe, a very big Ovid, was in that city. And this person was very happy to have the Alter Rebbe's son there, and he got into a Fabrengen with him. And Chassidim, they Fabreng, they get a little bit, So the Mittler Rebbe started taking this fellow apart. He's from the elderly Chassidim of the Alter Rebbe. And the Mittler Rebbe basically started showing to him, like, your whole hasaga, whatever you know and understand, Your davening, And this guy was feeling really, really, really bad. Because the Mittler Rebbe found sort of like, come on, all your work, like, well, what have you accomplished? And the Mittler Rebbe is a young man, first days, he's a young guy. And then, what? Not the Rebbe yet, he was still the son of, and he tells this old chassid. So the chassid says, big deal, he says. He recognized the Mittler Rebbe as far surpassing him. But he said to the Mittler Rebbe, big deal. You're comparing me to you. He says, how do you compare me to you? He says, who your father is, we know. Your father is a heilige, your father. And when it came time to bring a neshama into the world, your father went up there to the highest of the high, the highest of the high. And he selected who he wanted to select. And then you were born in the house of the Alter Rebbe. He raised you, he took care of you. And he watched over you every moment, and he educated you. Okay. So the fact that you are who you are, it's not such a chiddush. He said, but look at me, he says, what kind of thoughts my father had when he brought me into this world? Veisen medach. Nothing that great. And so where did he schlep up his neshama? Somewhere from the bottom of the barrel. And oitzer neshamas. He schlepped up his neshama. He schlepped them down. Then he says, when I was raised like a goat. Like a hanez, like a goat. And then he says, no, I got older, and what's my life? What's my situation? In order to make a living, take care of my family, I loan money to the peasants, to the farmers. I loan them money in the fall, and because they need to buy seeds, kernels, whatever, and they plant. And then in the winter, I have to travel to go collect the debts. That's my parnas. So how do you go and collect the debts from the Russian peasants? So first of all, you have to catch them when they're home. In the winter, it gets light, only very dark. It gets light, only late. So, you have to go traveling to catch them when they're at home very early morning, so it's still night. So at night, I have to travel. No, you have to go with a bottle of vodka, or else it doesn't even start. So I have to take a longer bottle. And I knock on the door early morning, like it's still night. And the guy lets me in. No, as we said, if you don't drink with him, you don't even start doing business. So you have to give him a l'chaim for him, whatever, you sit and you talk. And then after that, you have to make sure that the peasant, that's the peasant. The peasant, the peasant is, Mrs. Peasant. You have to make sure that Mrs. Peasant is not going to ruin anything. So you have to drink l'chaim with her as well. So you do that and you sit with them for a while. Then you have to go to 3 or 4 homes like this, and if you're lucky, you pull together some of what they owe you. Then I have to travel back and then go to the mikveh. And after going to the mikveh, no, then you can start davening. So you can imagine after such a preparation for davening, what kind of davening I have. So how can you compare your davening to my davening? The Mittler Rebbe heard it and took it very, very, very deeply to heart. And when he came into his father crying. He said, I am messed up. He says, Mela Chassid works. These Yidden work on you. You know, I started off with such a head start. I'm like, what? So later, when this Chassid came to the Alter Rebbe told him, I owe you a Yasher Koyach. I owe you a very big thank you because you made my Berele into a Chassid. You made him. The idea is that a Chassid is one who struggles. L'chaim. I guess he's a Rebbe, but he also has to be a little bit of a Chassid. Oh yeah, hey, Eitan Yisroel, Ben. Mother. Vigor Shadel. And your wife? Miriam, Adasa, Bas. Huh? Reza Lester. The Mittler Rebbe, for a second. The Mittler Rebbe used to give brachas for children. So his here right now. Zara Chai V'Kayama. Amen. 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 Right now, Chanukah miracles. Chaim Mushka Bas Chana, for Shalema, Gemura, for Shalema, for Naftali Hertz Ben Rezel, Gamra for. So the Mittler Rebbe wanted that Chassidim, when they would meet on the street, they should talk Yehudi Allah, Yehudi Tata on the street. That's amazing. That's what he wanted. It says in the days of the Mittler Rebbe had thousands of Chassidim who were in the level of Ava B'Tanugim, love of delight. Thousands of Chassidim who are in the level of Ava B'Tanugim. So you think about the Mittler Rebbe wanted people to talk Yehudi Allah, Yehudi Tata. So I know one Yid who talks Yehudi Allah, Yehudi Tata on the street corners everywhere, and that's his Naftali Astulin. He talks Yehudi Allah with every Chid. He has them say Mashiach now. That's Yehudi Allah, Yehudi Tata on the street corners. So, being that he gives a l'chaim, he gives a big chayas for all the Rebbe's invention. L'chaim. L'chaim l'bracha. So the Mittler Rebbe was a little boy, and his father wanted to educate him. His father, the Alter Rebbe, called in a malamed. The Alter Rebbe called in a malamed. By the way, the Mittler Rebbe's bris was mamish a day before the yard site of the Magid. Yud Ches, yeah. A day before the yard site of the Magid. By the bris was Ramendel of Vitebsker and Rabbi Avram Kalisker, all the friends of the Alter Rebbe who came together to celebrate the first yard site of the Magid. They were all there by the Bris Milah. And then they continued on to the Yortzeit Hilula of the Maggid. Anyways, the Maggid, the Alter Rebbe called in a young man, one of the Talmidim of the Maggid. The Alter Rebbe said to him like this: I have a mitzvah, v'shinantam levanecha. I have a mitzvah to teach my children Torah. You have a mitzvah to feed your family. So let's exchange mitzvahs. I'll do your mitzvah and I'll feed your family. I'll give you parnasa. And you do my mitzvah on my behalf and you teach my son. But then the Alter Rebbe continued. He wasn't going to let the Melamed. He wasn't going to let the Melamed just teach his son Aleph Beis. Azeh. So he said to him, when you start learning with a Yiddish kind, you start learning Aleph Beis. A Yiddish kind has to know what is an Aleph, a nekuda, a dot above, a nekuda, a yud fenoiven, a yud fenunten, a yud on the bottom, and a line of emunah that connects them both. You can give commentary on that. The nekuda lamayla, that's the Eibishter. Nekuda lamata, that's the neshama, and there's a line of emunah that connects them. That's one version. Another version of how the Alter Rebbe taught the Malamed to teach his son what's an Aleph. The nekuda lamayla, that's the neshama. The nekuda lamata, that's the body, the guf. And there's a kav of yira shamayim. There's a line of God, a fear of God that connects the neshama to the guf. That's an Aleph. So you realize that when you learn Torah from such a head start, that kind of learning, so you get the Chassidus right when you start Aleph. You get it ready. So you don't have to go through, so many years of searching till you find the jewels of Torah. You get right to the essence. It's interesting. I saw today the Mittel Rebbe once was away for Purim, and he was in a town, a place, and there was a Balkaira laying the Megillah. After the reading of the Megillah, there was like performers. They have a little hat, and everybody puts in money. So the Balkaira had his hat out there, and everybody put in money for the Balkaira who laying the Megillah. The Mittel Rebbe went and gave him a very nice donation. And he was surprised that he giving him a way bigger donation than everybody else gave him. So he asked the Mittel Rebbe, what's this? You gave me such a nice donation. And the Mittel Rebbe said, because I heard a story, I never heard that story before. I never heard. Because the Mittel Rebbe always heard the story from his father when his father learned the Megillah. And when his father learned the Megillah, the Mittel Rebbe, he was up there. He heard the story as it is describing this. The first time he heard a story, he liked the story. Any case, when the Mittel Rebbe was a little boy, the Malamed had two groups that he taught. There was one group, little children, the younger group, which he taught them Aleph Beis. The older group in which he taught Chumash already, Nach, Chumash. The Mittel Rebbe was a very young kid, talking about 3 years old, whatever. He was learning in the younger group. And the order was that when he learned with the little kids, then the older group did Chazara, and then they did Chazara, the little kids, he switched off. Problem was, the Malamed came to Tainus to the Alter Rebbe that his kid is not behaving. Because when they're supposed to do Chazara, he doesn't do Chazara. Instead, he eavesdrops, and he's listening to the learning with the older boys. But then later, when he tested them, and he saw that the Mittel Rebbe knows everything that he learned in the older boys with the older kids. The Mittel Rebbe became then, from a little tiny boy, a little 3-4-year-old, became Baki and Chumash and Tanakh and all of that. One time after Cheder, when he was mamish, a little kid, 5, 6 years old, the Chassidim were gathered in front of the Alter Rebbe's room. It's called Gan Eden HaTachten. Chassidim used to call the outside chamber where you wait to go into Yechidus. The Alter Rebbe's room was called Gan Eden Elyon, the higher Gan Eden. The outer chamber was called the lower Gan Eden. And there were Chassidim that were sitting there talking about Reb Shmuel Munkes and the great Chassidim, Reb Shlomo Rafals, and they're having a little farbrengen over there. The Mittel Rebbe saw them. He really enjoyed Reb Shmuel Munkes especially. So he was very drawn, so he came to sit down. In walked Rabbi Yosef Kolboy. Rabbi Yosef Kolboy was a very wealthy chassid from the city of Shklov, and he was from the great Chassidim. He came from real Misnagdish background, but he became a Chassid, and he joined the Fabrengen. Reb Shmuel Munkes turns to Rabbi Yosef Kolboy, and he says, "Why do you look so fachmuret? Why are you so sad? Why are you down?" So he said, "Because business is in dread. The business is, is really doing bad." And Reb Shlomo Rafals was also a wealthy businessman, joined along because the economy was really going down, was really problem. And so he was krechting. He said, "No, that's why I'm down." So the Mittler Rebbe, as a little 6-year-old whatever boy, turns to Reb Shmuel Munkes, and he says, "So why don't you tell them? It says so in davening. We said it today in Hallel. Atzabehem kesev v'zohav." Atzabehem means their atzvus, their sadness, is kesev v'zohav, matters of money, silver and gold. They're getting sad because of financial matters. Why are they sad because of financial matters? Because Maaseh Yedei Adam, they think that their financial successes is the credit of their own work, of their own toil and their own labor. And when a person thinks that he is the macher and he's the one who makes his parnasa, not realizing it's totally in the Eibishter's hands, then you get sad when things are tough. And then he continued, Pelahem, they have a mouth to say Chassidus. They learn Maimarim, they learn Chassidus. V'lo yedaberu, but the Chassidus doesn't dominate over them. Yedaberu is Meloshin Shlita. Yadbeir amim tachtenu. Lo yedaberu, the Chassidus does not rule over them. Einayim lahem, they have eyes. V'lo yiru, and they don't see ashkacha pratis, they don't see divine providence. Oznayim lahem, they have ears, but they only hear chitzonius, they don't hear pnimius, and therefore lo yerichun, they don't have a sense of reach, a true sense of scent, of scent, to be able to smell alakus, to hear alakus the way it should. This is what he said when he was a little yingler. Another teaching the Mittler Rebbe said when he was a little boy, also on something that relates to Chanukah. Ki rega bi'apoi chayim b'rtzoynoi. He said rega, we say it, rega, simply it means rega bi'apoi, a moment in God's wrath. Chayim b'rtzono, life is in his desire. Be'erev yolem bechi, at night you go to sleep with crying. B'boiker in the morning is a song. The Mittler Rebbe said like this. Ki rega, if I have a moment of tranquility. Rega comes from the word margoya. If I have a moment of tranquility, and I don't have all the obstacles and all the things that might get in the way and might stop me from being able to do a thorough hisboinenus, a real contemplation. So ki rega, when I'm hisboinen, when I contemplate the ways of the Eibishter, so then I see ba'apoi chayim. I see that even when there is a wrath coming from the Eibishter, that means even if there's some kind of hardship coming upon a person, ba'apoi, there's an af, either because of a lack of a person's asay tov, he's lacking in his mitzvah observance, or chas v'shalom, there's some things in sur meirah that the person hasn't taken care of. But I see that ba'apoi chayim, that even those harsh moments are all done for the sake of the person's good, chayim, to give him life. They're all life-giving. Birtzainoi, if the person takes heed to what's happening, and this evokes in him biritzainai, this evokes in the Yid a ratzain, a desire to improve, to become a better Jew, to fix his act up a little bit, to get better in asay tov, to get maybe a little better in his sur meirah. And when he gets to do that, then be'erev yolen bechi, then even what caused him at night to cry, la boy kerina, in the morning, that very same problem which last night was causing him to cry, la boy kerina, in the morning it makes him sing and dance. So even if there's chas v'shalom a moment of ba'apoi, birtzainai, as soon as there's tshuva coming from the person, it's all flipped over and all turned around. This is one the Mittler Rebbe was a little boy. The Mittler Rebbe was young, someone snitched on him to his father, to the Alter Rebbe. And he said to his father that the Mittler Rebbe writes a lot of Chassidus. He writes a lot of Chassidus. And he said to him that we found out that your son, maybe he was 15 years old, whatever, younger. He got married when he was 14, by the way. Get to that in a moment. But the Mittler Rebbe really wanted to get married. The reason why he wanted to get married was because he couldn't wait to hear the Chassidus his father was going to say by the Chasana. So getting married was a technical detail. He needed to get married so that he can hear the Chassidus that his father would say. Actually, how the Shidduch came about, a Malamed came to the Alter Rebbe, a Malamed, and he complained to the Alter Rebbe that he has 5 daughters and they're not getting married. And the Alter Rebbe says, why don't you do any Shidduchim with your daughters? He says, because no one wants to do a Shidduch with me because I'm so poor. He was a Malamed, he was a teacher of kids. I'm so poor, no one wants to marry my daughters. I don't have money for dowry, chab garnish. So the Alter Rebbe said, so you know what? I'll do a Shidduch with you, with one of your daughters. And once you'll be my mechutin, everybody's going to jump to do a Shidduch with you. But later, they brought, it wasn't the only Shidduch. They had suggested many other Shidduchim for the Mittler Rebbe. But the Mittler Rebbe said that which Shidduch does he want? The one that's going to be able to be done the quickest. 1, 2, 3. And why does he want the one that's going to be able to be done the quickest? Because the one that's going to be done the quickest, he's going to be able to hear Chassidus. He can't wait to hear the Chassidus just for the Shidduch, just for the Tanoim and all that his father's going to say. But anyways, so they told the Alter Rebbe that the Mittler Rebbe has 13 Maimarim written on the idea where the Gemara says, Komiflike b'mesifta derekia, that there's in the heavenly courts, there is a machlaik, there is an argument, the Gemara talks about Allah. The Mittler Rebbe wrote 13 Maimarim on that. So the Alter Rebbe waited. The Mittler Rebbe was then out of town. When the Mittler Rebbe came home, the Alter Rebbe sent immediately a message to him. When he was still on the wagon, he arrived back home. I want you to come to me and I want you to bring me all your writings, everything you have. When they told the Mittler Rebbe this, he got so terrified that he has to come to his father with his ksavim that he couldn't move. They had to literally pick him up off the wagon, take him to his house, to his place where he was. They gathered to his room. He had no choice. His father commanded him. So he brought all of his ksavim, he brought it to his father. His father took the ksavim, and his father, the Alter Rebbe, started looking through it. And then he said, and when he found those 13 Maimarim, he was like looking through. And then he says to the Mittler Rebbe, tonight, I want you to come eat dinner with me. Okay. So the Mittler Rebbe leaves. The Alter Rebbe tells his Rebbetzin, tonight we're getting a very special guest. So she should prepare a nice meal. So she went and she prepared a nice meal and they had dinner. When they sat down, the Alter Rebbe said to the Mittler Rebbe, Nu berel, zog chassidus. Alter Rebbe is asking his son, 15-year-old, whatever, say chassidus. The Mittler Rebbe says, Tate, ich kann nicht sagen. I can't say. Before you, I can't say. So the Alter Rebbe took a bottle of vodka, of mashke, poured him a whole cup, and he said, drink it. So he drank the cup down. The Alter Rebbe says, Berle, zog chassidus. He says, Tate, ich kann nicht sagen. I can't say chassidus before you. So the Alter Rebbe filled him another cup. And he said, drink. So he gave him a second cup to drink. And then he says, Berle, zog chassidus. And then the Mittler Rebbe said, Chassidus. And the Alter Rebbe said, then the Alter Rebbe's Rebbetzin, the wife said, you said a special guest is coming, no one arrived. He says, Berel is a oira chashiv. Berel is a special guest. He's the special guest that came. So here's a very special story. All the stories are special. This is a very special story. Chaim l'chaim. Let's sing another niggin, we'll tell another story. Chaim. Chaim. Freilich and Chanukah. Ja, das ist der Mittler Rebbe's niggin. So the Mittel Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe would was a big chasana called the Slabodkea Chassidic. I didn't get a chance to exactly research who was getting married to who by the Slabodkea Chassidic, but it was a famous chasana. Rabbi Yitzchak Barditchev was by that wedding. Many of the other great Tzadikim were by that chasana. And Rabbi Levi Yitzchak was a mechutin, because that's what it was. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak's Einakel was marrying the Alter, one of the Mittler Rebbe's children. So it was the Alter Rebbe's Einakel with the Rabbi Levi Yitzchak's Einakel. At that chasana, the Alter Rebbe used to tell Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchev a lot about his son. So the Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchev wanted to see the Mittler Rebbe in action. So in order to get to see him in action, he honored him with benching. He honored the Mittler Rebbe to lead the benching. When the Mittler Rebbe led the benching, and you couldn't see anything. And he just said benching. And Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchev was very disappointed. Because Rabbi Levi Yitzchak was hoping that he would get some exposure when he would see the bench. So he turned to the Alter Rebbe afterwards, because he benched simply like someone without any kavanas, without anything deeper. So he turned to the Alter Rebbe and he said, "My hi, what's this?" So the Alter Rebbe said to him like this: "You should know my son Berele. He's Baki in the Shvila Derekia. He knows intimately the entire map of Seder Ishtalshalos, from the beginning of beginnings to the very, very end. He knows everything, the whole thing. In the same way that I am Baki in the streets of Liadi or wherever the Alter Rebbe lived at that time. In the same manner." But he said, "My son, I am envious of his avodah, because he's able to serve the Eibishter in a way that's all bepnimius, it's all internalized, and there's nothing being seen on the outside." And he says, such a kind of an avodah that you shouldn't see anything on the outside, but on the inside it's like the highest of the high. He says it's only possible in a neshama from Alma Diskasya. You see, his name was supposed to be Rebbe Mnuna Saba, like a fish soul. So from a different place. By that very same wedding, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchev wanted to hear Chassidus from the Mittler Rebbe. And he told the Mittler Rebbe to say Chassidus. And the Mittler Rebbe said, on the condition that you behave yourself. Same like Rabbi Baruch Hu with the Rebbe Ditcher. On the condition that you don't get excited. So Rabbi Levi Yitzchak said, "You have my word, I'm not going to get excited." So the Mittler Rebbe started saying Chassidus. And Rabbi Levi Yitzchak suddenly got so fired up that he grabbed, there was a tray with glasses that they were using at the thing, at the Simcha. He took the entire tray and boom, suddenly smashed. Mazel tov. It wasn't one cup. There were like 20 glasses went splattered. So shit. The Mittler Rebbe said, or they said later, "No, what? Aha, you committed." He said, "I saw when he was saying Chassidus, I saw that he was surrounded by malachim, serafim, and all came to hear the gilui of Pnimiyas HaTorah that he was revealing. And I was afraid that they shouldn't become jealous of him. So I needed to because it looks like, no, I think that's what happened. I think he stopped saying after the Levi Yitzchak took all those glasses and threw it down, it like kind of stopped the whole situation. And that's what he said. Another time, or the other version, or another time, is that the Alter Rebbe was afraid. The Mittler Rebbe said that ayin hara, a negative eye, impacts a person worse in ruchnius than in gashmis. People are afraid for an ayin hara all the time, but it's much worse spiritually than it affects a person. So the Alter Rebbe was afraid that the Mittler Rebbe, that the Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchev should not see his son saying Chassidus. So one time when the Mittler Rebbe talked about a chassan or something, when the Mittler Rebbe started saying Chassidus, and Rabbi Levi Yitzchak was there, the Alter Rebbe walked into the room and he saw Rabbi Levi Yitzchak's there. He picked up Rabbi Levi Yitzchak and he says, "Come, this is not for you." And he took him right out of the room. In any case, but here's a story. The Mittler Rebbe, this is an edus that someone wrote. It happened with him. He watched it. He observed it. He saw it. The Mittler Rebbe was once traveling to, I don't remember where it was. He stayed in a little town called, I actually wrote it down. What was the name of the town? Here we are. The name of the town was Krislov. And there was a chassid over there, his name was Rabbi Shayla, a famous chassid, Rabbi Shayla Krislover. He stayed at his house, but the Rabbi Shayla of Krislover, this chassid, was not home at that time. And the Mittler Rebbe was saying Chassidus at night. It was the first evening he was there, and Chassidim all came, and they were listening, and the Mittler Rebbe said Chassidus, and then we know the Mittler Rebbe would say Chassidus for many hours. And meanwhile, it turned midnight, and the wife of this, the balabusta of the house, the wife of this Reb Shayla, needed to go to sleep. It was very late already. So she went to sleep, and she just instructed over there the Meshamish, the one who's in, the Mesharis, the one who's in charge of the Mittler Rebbe's thing, that she should, where the food is, that she can feed the Mittler Rebbe after, when the Mittler Rebbe is ready. The next morning, this chassid says, I walked out to smoke a cigar outside, and I hear the wife, the hostess that was hosting the Mittler Rebbe, she's literally crying and weeping as if, the worst thing happened. Chas v'shalom, someone in her family passed away. She was like beside herself. So I came over to her and I asked her, what's going on? I said, are you okay? What's happening? Obviously, you're not okay. So she said, she couldn't even come to herself to talk. And she said, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe this happened, she said. I have the tzaddik staying in my house, the big Rebbe staying in my house. And I was machshel him and eating treifas. The Rebbe ate treif in my house. He ate non-kosher. And she said, what happened? She has this looks like this house was not just a home and had a little bit of an inn as well. People would take rooms there. And there's a certain minister, and that minister would not minister, whatever, a guy, a nobleman, and he would stay by me. So I had for him cooking non-kosher food. And I had 2 pots. I had one for the Rebbe. And then there was another pot on the other side of the kitchen. When I came in the morning, I saw that the Meshamish, whatever, they took the wrong pot. And I saw that the food that I prepared for the Rebbe wasn't touched. And Rahman al-Itzlan, the other pot full of real treifa meat, treifa food, was taken to the Rebbe. And oy vavoyli, I don't know what to do. So Hitaki got shooken up, and he goes running to the attendant to tell him. The attendant looks at him, he takes one look at his face, he sees he's pale, he says, what happened? He says, Gaval, there's a serious problem over here. You served treifas last night to the Rebbe. So the Shamash says, shaita what you are, idiot what you are. To realize that. She says, what? He says, don't worry, the Rebbe didn't eat anything last night. He said, what? He says, yeah, let me show you. Brings him into the room. He sees the pot is sitting there with all the food, the whole thing, it's not touched. And he says, yeah, but maybe he took a little bit. How do you know? Just because it's a full flight, maybe he took a little taste. He says, let me tell you what happened. I saw it with my own eyes. What happened is, he sat down, he washed, he took a little bread, and he ate. And then he was going to take a little soup. And I see him stick his spoon into the soup. And he sticks his spoon in, picks it up, looks 2 times at the spoon, takes the spoon, pours it back in, and that's it. So I said to him, Rebbe, I said, you're hungry. You didn't eat anything all day besides 2 cups of tea. Eat something. You need to eat. He said, no. I said, okay, you're not going to eat the soup, but maybe you want a little bit of the flesh. Maybe you want a little bit of the meat. He said, in a smile, he said, the meat will ich euch nicht. I don't want the meat as well. And he said, you know what? You shouldn't either eat it. That's what he says. You shouldn't either eat it. Fine. So the next day, Chassidim are all, the Rebbe saw right away what this is, and he didn't eat it, so they were talking about it. So they asked the Mittler Rebbe, how'd you know? Silly question to ask. But they asked the Mittler Rebbe, how'd you know? I guess Tzadikim have to go through some pain as well when you have people like that asking him these questions. So the Mittler Rebbe said, You think it's a moifis, spiritual things? No. He says, when a thought occurs to someone, you have to know that the thought occurs. So he says, when I took the soup, immediately fell into my head a halacha regarding treifas. A law regarding the laws of treifa fell into my head as soon as I took the soup. So because of that, I knew that the Chassidim were talking about it. Says, is that all that it is? Then if that would be the case, why did he have to look at the soup? Because the Mittler Rebbe generally, his head is not there, he's not looking at the food he's eating. So that both are true. The thought came from above in Hilchas Treifas. Then the Mittler Rebbe is saying, why suddenly Allah Hilchas Treif is coming in? So he took a look at the soup and he saw that the soup is treif. Because if you're sensitive and you have the right eyes, then you can see what's coming from Sholosh Klipas Atmeis. And he didn't eat the soup. But that was the first night. Then this person says, but the second night was even greater what I saw. What happened the second night? The Mittler Rebbe said Chassidus that night in this person's house. He says, we never heard such Chassidus. Such deep Chassidus. And it was going on and on. Not only didn't we hear it from the Mittler Rebbe, we ever heard it from his father, such secrets, such revelations. And after the Mittler Rebbe was done saying the Chassidus, and he was in a very elated mood, and after he was done saying the Chassidus, we went to have dinner, and the older Chassidim were trying to put together what they heard, and it was just too much. It was too much. And as we're sitting over there to dinner, someone comes, the Misharis, the Mittler Misharis. He says, you want to see the Rebbe? You want to look at his face? Now's a good time to come look at him. So I said, this person writes, he said, I know that the Mittler Rebbe dislikes very much when you sit and look at him. So I said, no, the Rebbe wouldn't be happy with me looking at him. He says, no, now you can come. Don't worry. Now's a good time to come see him. He says, because right now, you can look at him and he's not going to know you're looking at him. So I said, okay. So I came. He says, and we walked in the middle of the room. The Mittler Rebbe is standing in the room, mamash in the middle of the room. His eyes are open. He's looking straight. His face is ablaze with a fire. Mamash, he's a fiery face. And he's standing in a trance. So the shamus, the Meshara says, loud, not quiet. He says, go. You can stand right in front of him. I got too terrified. I told him if it was a Rebbe standing over here. He says, no. He doesn't hear you now. I'm telling you, he doesn't hear you now. You can go stand in front of him. He says, because he's now in the Olam Asal Yoinim, he's in the supernal world. He says, what do you know about Olam Asal Yoinim? He says, no, because I know this happens quite often. I know when he's in this state, you can go right in front of him and he doesn't know what's happening. So he says, I stood right in front of the Mittler Rebbe. It was 10 o'clock at night. Thank you. It was 10 o'clock at night, and the Mittler Rebbe stood like that till 3 o'clock in the morning. Again, 5 hours he stood, and you can look at him. His face was ablaze, his eyes were wide open, and he totally wasn't here. And this chassid said, I'm standing and looking. At 3 in the morning, the Meshara says, listen, the Rebbe's got to eat dinner. Come on, all this Olam Asal Yoinim stuff. It's time to go eat. Got to go to sleep. So he sends the Balagala, and he says, take him a kvart, he should wash. The Balagala comes and he stands in front of the Mittler Rebbe, obviously he's looking at him. And the Mittler Rebbe doesn't budge. He's literally not budging. So the Meshara says, no. He says, he's not, I don't know. He says, no, ask him. He says, I'm afraid to touch him. So he says, okay, then give me the work. So the Meshara goes, takes the Mittler Rebbe by the hand, and he brings him and he says, Rebbe, medaf kein essen, and it's time to go eat. The Mittler Rebbe just moves along with him, and this time he stops right in front of the wall, and it's he stood in front of the wall, and he stood. He says, by this point I couldn't look in his face anymore because he was standing by the wall, so I figured it's time to go to sleep. So this chassid, he says, he left, and he left the Mittler Rebbe standing by the wall. The next day, the Meshara says to him, let me tell you what happened last night. He stood at the wall for another hour. From 3 to 4, he was standing by the wall. Finally, at 4 o'clock, he sat down. And he washed and he was going to eat. And I saw him happy like I never saw him happy like this. I said, Rebbe, from when I'm your Meshadis, I've never saw you so besimcha. So the middle of that, why are you so happy today? Well, what's going on? So he says, I'll tell you why. Because every time when I say Chassidus, halfway through the Maimer, my father appears to me. My father appears halfway through my Maimer. For whatever reason, this time, my father, the Alter Rebbe, because this is after the Alter Rebbe's passing, this time my father appeared right when I started. And not only that, he came with the Maggid and the Baal Shem Tov. And they were all there listening. And then, after that, the Maggid and the Baal Shem Tov left, and my father was there with me. And my father then said to me, you said very well, and the Maggid and the Baal Shem Tov praised your Torah up there, l'mayla, very, very high. And you should continue saying like this. And he said, so then he asked me to repeat the Maimer. So when you saw me standing in that room, I was repeating the Maimer. But my father was revealing to me in that thing, Soides Neflois, incredible secrets. And because of this, I have such simcha. And this is what a chassid can see from the Rebbe's communication with the neshamas. So in Eitz Chaim and the Arizal, it talks about that there is Eliyahu, but it says the highest thing is the Giluyim of Tzadikim from neshamas Elyonim come learn with someone Torah and teach them. And that was by the Mittler Rebbe a common thing all the time. L'chaim. Hey. Bring me another half a slice. All right, just a half. I mean, you want it. Lag Baimer was a very big day by the Mittler Rebbe, and he would go outside into the fields. They would have a big parade. The Mittler Rebbe had a group. Mittler Rebbe had a group of musicians known as the Kapelle, and he also had a group of Chassidim that would ride horses, and they would do all kinds of acrobatic stunts on the horses. The Mittler Rebbe actually had one of his sons, Reb Nachum, who was part of the horse, what do they call it, the cavalry, part of it. One time actually was in the middle of out of nowhere, it was a regular day, and the Mittler Rebbe suddenly called for his musicians to come, and they should start playing music, and that the horses should come perform. And the Mittler Rebbe was standing and watching, and suddenly Reb Nachum, the son of very, very dear son of the Mittler Rebbe, fell off his horse. And there was a big commotion. They said that they came running to the Mittler Rebbe saying that Nachum is in a big sakana, is in a big danger. The Mittler Rebbe told them to just ignore the whole thing and told the show to continue. So they continued. A little while later, after the show continued for a while, the Mittler Rebbe left, and he went to check up on his son. They called the doctor. They had called the doctor. The doctor checked him out and said he's not in danger. He hurt his leg. Actually broke his leg, but it wasn't a bad break. He'll be fine. A few days later, they asked the Mittler Rebbe, how can it be your son was in danger and you totally ignored the whole thing? Mittler Rebbe asked, why don't you ask a better question? Why in the middle of nowhere did I ask for music to start playing in this whole... It wasn't a special day. It wasn't a Yom Tov. It wasn't like a Chves. It was a regular day. Why did I? The Mittler Rebbe said, it's because I saw big dinim. I saw judgments on my son Nachum. That there were judgments on him. And we know that simcha mamtekes es adinim. That joy sweetens the judgments. So therefore I called for a simcha. And then when he fell, so it sweetened the judgments, but there was still a reshimo, there was still a little trace of the judgments left. And that's why he fell and he broke his leg. That was from the trace of the judgments. But then, we continued the joy, and it took away even the trace. So he has a refuah shleima now. The ganzen, it's all the way. Anyways, the Mittler Rebbe on Lag Boimer used to be a big thing. And it was known, it was a day, Chabad Bichlal did not celebrate so much Moifsim. By Chabad Chassidic, the biggest Moifis is that a human mind can perceive godliness. So miracles was not the thing, especially by the Mittler Rebbe. It was all Chassidim. When Chassidim came to the Mittler Rebbe with physical problems, the Mittler Rebbe always gave them a Seder Avodah Beruchnius, and through their Ruchnius Tig Avodah, they fixed their favor. But the Mittler Rebbe, you know, the whole Inyan of that we have to be completely synchronized and aligned with the spiritual source was on the highest level. So, but on like Boim, the Mittler Rebbe there was a flow of moifsim of miracles, particularly regarding couples that needed a blessing for children. So once there was a couple, once there was a woman who came for a bracha, for a child. The Mittler Rebbe instructed that the first thing she should do every morning is eat. That was instructed. She should eat immediately when she wakes up. So that's what she did. And Baruch Hashem, she had a baby. No, a year later she had twins. So the Mittler Rebbe said that that time when she found out that she had twins, he said, "So a bissel ibe gebissen." She ate a little too much. And the Mittler Rebbe said, an extra piece, das is a misnagid. An extra piece is a misnagid. And so it turned out one of the children was a chassid, and the other one was a misnagid. That was the story. The second interesting story regarding the children was that the Mittler Rebbe traveled to Karlsbad. So that was somewhere in Austria. Actually, on that trip, the Mittler Rebbe met with Rabbi Akiva Eger. And the Mittler Rebbe said Chassidus for Rabbi Akiva Eger. And Rabbi Akiva Eger was very nishtaimim from the Chassidus. And the Mittler Rebbe writes a whole letter about. The Mittler Rebbe was very, very impressed with Rabbi Akiva Eger as well. Tzaddik Moyav. The Mittler Rebbe said Chassidus for Rabbi Akiva Eger, and he also met. The other one that he met was, what was his name? Assad. The holy Assad, not him. Huh? What was his name? Maria. Yeah, I forgot. Rabbi Yehuda. He was a big he was, I think, a Talmud or some Sefer. He was from the big ones. In any case, on that trip, he stayed in the house of a very wealthy Nogid. I remember the name of this person. And there was this fellow, Rabbi Shaya, who he appointed, this rich man, wasn't a chassid. He appointed his manager of all of his businesses to take care of the Mittler Rebbe personally. His name was Rabbi Shaya. So he was standing by the Mittler Rebbe. Meanwhile, the wife of this very wealthy person, they didn't have any children. So she asked that she should be able to go into the Mittler Rebbe. But it was very different. The Rebbe changed everything. Chalal Chabad, the later years is different than the earlier years. Women didn't go into the Mittler Rebbe. So the Seder was, so the problem was she wanted a bracha, but they wouldn't. She should go in to ask a bracha from the Mittler Rebbe was not the custom. But she really pleaded and she begged that she wants a bracha from the Mittler Rebbe. So they made up that when this Reb Shaya is going to go by the meal and he's going to take away the first course before he brings the second course, so then he's going to have a chance and he's going to ask the Mittler Rebbe for a special permit, a special exemption to allow the wife, the hostess of the house, to come in and the whole family to come in. So this is what happened. She came in and she asked the bracha for... No, what happened was when she came to the door, she suddenly froze in dread. She was petrified to walk in and to come into the Rebbe. Somehow she gathered the strength or whatever, they encouraged her, she came in, she asked for a bracha. And the Mittler Rebbe stuck his hand into his pocket and he says, ich hab noch a paar Kinder in Tash. I have a few left over. I have a few children in my pocket. Nader. He went and he took it and he said, Nader, take. and he gave her the children. So a year later, she was giving birth, and she had a very, 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 very hard labor, and the baby wasn't coming, and she was mamish at it. So she begged, and she said, "Bring me this Shaya, this Reb Shai, because he's the one who brought me into the Rebbe. If he comes here, I'm sure it will reactivate the blessing." So he came in, and as soon as he came, Mazel Tov, she gave birth. So when it came time that she was going to have her second birth, a year or so later, because the Rebbe gave her a few children. So when it came time the second one, she lechatchila had him hang around there the whole 9th month, that just in case she goes into labor, that she should have a smooth. His name was Shaya something. He was L'chaim. L'chaim. Yeah, sehr gut gesungen. That's all you need. And this all the bring in alle brachas. Was the darst. Das the darst. If people in LA would know what kind of blessings are flowing here tonight, you wouldn't be able to put a toothpick into this room. Garnish, the gistig brachas over here like you can't even imagine. Oh man, l'chaim. Everything. L'chaim. Ay, 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 whatever you need. Amen. Everything. Ay, 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 ay. Aus. Ay, 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 ay. Put this down there. Ay, 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 ay. Love Malkev, Chaneke, Rishchoidish. How can it not be? Ay, ay, ay. Put it there. Down there on the table. Ya 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 la da da la da da da. Ya 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 ma 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 ya ma 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 ya la da da. Ma 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 ya la da da la da da la da. Da da my la da my la da 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 my la da 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 my la da da my ya la da my ya la da he's no more the landlord. To trust, not even Jewish. I'm okay. The Abisha takes care.
This is live. The guy took a picture of me. Did he have anything?
Chaim. Is she here?
Mendel Sharaf came. This is this type of music.
Shouldn't feel bad that there's not more people here.
I don't feel bad.
Because there's so many spiritual beings in this room now. There's no room for any more human beings.
It's true. L'chaim. I want to give a very special bracha for happy anniversary for Yaakov and Menucha. This is the first anniversary. The Eibusha should bench them with many Chaim Nitzchiyim, eternal life together in good health and much bracha and happy, healthy children, and then eventually grandchildren, and then great-grandchildren, Atsoif Kol Adayris, and Parnaser Bar Chava Gedoyla Ad Miyoid, and only good. Chaim. Anonymous. Yaakov and Menucha. You can look through LA, or maybe even beyond LA, and look for who's Yaakov and Menucha, and then try to figure out who got married a year ago. Then you can figure it out. Chaim. Okay, so I give you enough. I give you some work. Chaim.
Wherever you are.
Chaim on the bracha. Ay. Oh, okay, her name is Menucha? Okay. She should be blessed as well. Amen. L'chaim. L'chaim on the bracha. The Mittler Rebbe would ask of his Chassidim that they should chazer Chassidus wherever they would go. They would go back home to their towns after they came to learn Maimorim. They heard from the Mittler Rebbe. They would go back and chazer Chassidus, repeat Chassidus wherever they went. One of the Chassidim, his name was Moshe Yitzchak. Let me tell you his name. Something Yitzchak, maybe Moshe Yitzchak. From Yas. It's a town, his name was, hold on, let me just get it. If I remember this. Moshe Yitzchak from Yassi. Anyways, he came back to his place and he ended up in the town or the village or the city, I don't know where it was exactly, where the Apterov lived. The Apterov, the Oyev Yisroel, Rabbi Avram Yeshua Heschel of Apt, was one of the great Chassidic masters, huge tzaddik, but he wasn't necessarily the biggest proponent of Chassidus Chabad. And he was a little bit on Baruch Mezhebush's team. And there's a beautiful letter from the Alter Rebbe to him. The Alter Rebbe says, "Why are you upset at me? I love you with all my being." The Alter Rebbe says to him. Anyways, in any case, the Apterov was not so in agreement of spreading Chassidus, especially the Mittel Rebbe, who far outdid his father in the flow of Chassidus. So this Chassid, not knowing that the shul that he ended up in was the Apterov shul, and he came in and there were people sitting there, and they looked at him and they saw he was a Chassid of Baltzura. He sat down and he started chazering Chassidus. And lo and behold, in the middle of him seeing the Apterov walked in, and the Apterov sees a Chabad Chassid. And Chazid Chassidus in his shul. So the Apterov said, "Hagam lichboish asamalka imi babayis." That was the statement that the Achashverosh said. Right? He said, "Do you want to conquer the queen in my house, in my shul?" And he got upset at this Chassid, and he blessed him that he shouldn't make it through the year. No joke. No joke. So the Chassid didn't know what to do. He picked himself up and ran back to the Mittel Rebbe for help. When he came to the Mittel Rebbe and he related to the Mittel Rebbe that he said Chassidus in the Apterov shul, and the Apterov had a kaped on him, and he said that he shouldn't make it through the year, and he's scared. So the Mittel Rebbe said to him, "You offended the Apterov?" He started up with the Apterov. He said, "No, I didn't offend him. I didn't even know it was his shul. I'm trying to do what the Rebbe asked of us to do. We should chazer Chassidus." I ended up over there. The people looked like they were thirsty, and they wanted to hear something, Divrei Elokim Chaim. So I gave over, and so the Mittel Rebbe put his hands like this, and then for a while there was and then he picked up his hands. He picked up his face and he says, "You're going to live through the year." But he wasn't happy with that. So the Mittel Rebbe put his hands again down, his face again in his hands, and then he picked his head up and he said, "You're going to outlive the Apterov." And he still wasn't happy because the Apterov was an elderly Yid already then. So the Mittel Rebbe put his head down again on his face again in his hands. He picked his head. He says, "You're going to outlive his children." And so it was. He lived a very long life, this Chassid. The other time the Mittel Rebbe had to remove a kapeda was from the Hillel of Parich. The Hillel of Parich was known as the greatest Chassidim in Chabad history. Tzemach Tzedek said, "I have 2.5 Chassidim." Whichever the other 2 Chassidim, I don't know who they were. And the half of Chassid is Rabbi Hillel because he's half Chassid, half Rebbe. So Tzemach Tzedek said, "I have 2.5 Chassidim." In any case, Rabbi Hillel of Parich belonged to the Chernobler dynasty. He was a Chernobler Chassid. And it was once in the city called Chometz, which is next to Minsk. A Chassid by the name of Zalman Zezmer came to town. And it was Friday night after Kabbalah Shabbos. And Zalman Zezmer was from the real elite Chassidim of the Alter Rebbe. And he was there, So Reb Hillel and his friend came after Kabbalah Shabbos. The shul was empty. They went over to Reb Zalman and they said, we heard that Chabad Chassidic is an explanation on Kabbalah. Share with us some Chassidus. So Reb Zalman said, no. Chassidus is not an explanation on Kabbalah. Chassidus, the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov, Chassidus is mevar the Torah. It explains the Torah. Benigla u benister. And it explains, I think, Yehudi Allah and Yehudi Tata, something like that he said to them. And he started explaining to them the whole idea, I think, of Yehudi Allah and Yehudi Tata according to the Alter Rebbe, according to Tanya. And they were literally blown away. And Reb Hillel at that time decided that Chabad Chassidic is his thing. The other one, it didn't grab it. I mean, it didn't stay. But Reb Hillel decided that he wants to move on to Chassidus Chabad. He related it to his wife, and his wife went and told her father, unknowing what was going to happen. Her father was a Chernobyl Chassid, came to the Motel of Chernobyl, and said that his son-in-law, Reb Hillel, was a very great man. Reb Hillel was such a genius, and they grabbed him up very young. He got married before his bar mitzvah. So he wore a talus before he wore tefillin. So they called him Chalomoid. Because Chalomoid, you wear a talus without tefillin. Right? That was it? Chalomoid. But you don't know, I don't know why it's Chalomoid. You wear all the time Shabbos and Yom Tov talus without tefillin. No, you remember something like that? I don't remember. Any case, so Reb Hillel, this was a problem because he was leaving, Chernobyl had a lot to gain with a fellow like Reb Hillel of Parich by them. And now Reb Hillel was going to leave, so the Motel right away summoned Reb Hillel to come to him. And he said, I hear you're looking to go to Lubavitch. So Reb Hillel said, what can I do? My heart is ablaze. I'm yearning for Chassidus Chabad. So the Motel said to him, your father's neshama belonged to my father, Reb Nachum of Chernobyl. And your neshama is mushrish in me, in my neshama. And if you're going to leave me, you're cutting yourself off from your shayrish. And he says, in demels kannst du liegen, you will lay with your pupik aroif. That means with your belly button up. He gave him he says, if you leave me, you're going to be lying with your belly button up. It was a curse. And Reb Hillel said to him, nothing you're going to say is going to frighten me. I'm going. So what happened was, the Motel warned the family that they should keep an eye on him, and they should simply not let him. They shouldn't let him, they should watch on him. Reb Hillel used to go very, very early in the morning, like when it was still nighttime, he used to go to shul, and he used to daven and learn, and then he used to learn with Bachrim over there. And that was like till the afternoon. And they didn't suspect that one day, instead of going to shul early, like a middle of the night, they didn't think that he would leave in the middle of the night. Instead of going to shul, he just continued on. He walked to the next town. And when he came in there, he asked that they should please put him together money to help him to get a wagon to Babrusk. If he can only get to Babrusk, that was pretty close to Lubavitch. They didn't recognize, didn't know who he was, whatever, so somehow they put together some money for him. He caught his wagon, he got a wagon driver, and he left. He told the wagon to go really, really quickly, because he was, in his mind, they were chasing him. They were looking for him. So he was really scared. In the middle, they came to a curve, and the whole wagon flipped over, and he was laying under the wagon, like this, until they were able to turn over, the guy was able to turn over the wagon, and he was able to continue. When he came to the Mittler Rebbe, as soon as he came in, the Mittler Rebbe said, Misha oimer l'shemen v'yadlik, yoimer l'chaimetz v'yadlik. Because the town, whoever said, that's what the Gemara says, the Gemara says that the story that whoever said that oil should burn should say that vinegar should burn. The town where Rabbi Zalman Zezner met Rabbi Hillel was Chaimetz, the name of the town. So the Mittler Rebbe said, whoever said that oil should burn should say L'Chaimetz v'yadlik, that in Chaimetz, in the town of Chaimetz, v'yadlik, we can ignite a neshama to Chassidus. So Rabbi Hillel came, and Rabbi Hillel, however, said to him, I'm afraid of the kapeda that the Ramotel of Chernobyl has on me, that I left him. So the Mittler Rebbe said, Maman of Shach, if he is a good Yid, if he's a good Jew, if he's a good Yid, so from good can ish come in ra, from good can't come bad. And if not, you have nothing to fear. Maman of Shach. All right. He says, but what did he tell you? He said, he told me I will lay with Mpupik Aroif. So he said to him, no. He says, Machzachamol in the winter, that a wagon turns over, and you lay with your Pupik Aroif. So basically, he told him, you were yoitz already, you know. Probably I protected you at that time already, but you're okay. And that's when Rabbi Hillel remained Chabad Chassid and was the mentor and the teacher of thousands of Chassidim. The Mittler Rebbe wanted very much that Chassidim should move to, that Chassidim should occupy themselves with farm work. The Parnassa was very difficult for the Jews in Russia in those days. And the Mittler Rebbe was a very big proponent that instead of the type of businesses the Jews were always wanted to do, you know, buying, selling, all this kind of stuff, he felt that the Yidden should work on farms, and it would be very good for them. The Alter Rebbe also started that already. The Mittler Rebbe was very strong in that. The Mittler Rebbe asked the Russian government that they should supply him with plots of land in southern Russia. They gave him, and he said, we will develop it. And I guess they would pay a tax off the produce. And they gave the Mittler Rebbe a nice big plot of land next to the city called Kherson. The Mittler Rebbe had thousands of Chassidim moved over there. 1,780 families. It was 20 altogether. It was I think 17,000, 18,000 people moved. It took a while, but the Chassidim listened. And the Rebbe told them they should move there, and he gave them a big bracha for Hatzlacha, and they should work. He writes a letter. He says a lot of people feel like it's like kind of not nice labor, that you have to work the land. The Rebbe says, what do you think our parents did in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, in the time of the Yisroel? They were all farmers. They all worked the land. So we shouldn't. I was thinking about that today. They did it in Eretz Yisrael. Why do you want to do that in the Ukraine or in Russia? Like, what's? Looks like from the Rabbeim started already the beginning of Malchus Beis David, the return to Eretz Yisrael. So you got to start practicing farm work, so you know you can work the land. In any case, Reb Hillel and the Mittler Rebbe promised the Chassidim that he was going to come visit them, because they said they're not going to hear Chassidus. This is very far. The Mittler Rebbe traveled there, and he was there for a half a year, actually. He spent in Kherson. And he sent Reb Hillel. Reb Hillel would travel there every year to teach and inspire and give Chassidus, and I think he passed away over there, and he's buried in the southern part of Russia, in that area. Actually, in two places they had these settlements. They were called colonies. They were Chassidic colonies. Another big inspiration to go move out into these colonies was that one of the exemptions they had for anybody that moved into these colonies is that their children were not taken for the Kantonistan. When the Gezerah came about, when Nikolai became Tsar, and he made a decree that they should take children to the army for 25 years of service, anybody who lived in these colonies were exempt. So that was an extra push that people should go out into the colonies for Parnassa. In any case, altogether there were about 30,000 Chassidim. Think about it, it's a lot. There's living far from the Mittler Rebbe. the other hand, Lubavitch starts with the Mittler Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe didn't live in Lubavitch. When he was a kid, he learned in Lubavitch. When he was a child, Alter Rebbe's not a kid again. When he was a little child, he was in Lubavitch. When the Mittler Rebbe decided, after the Alter Rebbe's passing, there was actually a big choice to be made. The Chassidim in Ukraine wanted the Mittler Rebbe to stay in Ukraine, and the Chassidim in White Russia wanted the Mittler Rebbe to come to Russia. Then the Chassidim of Russia prevailed, and the Mittler Rebbe came to Russia. When he came to Russia, he came to the town of Lubavitch, and he stood by a certain place, and he said like this. He said, 58 years ago, when my father was 10 years old, he learned in this place over here, there was a shul, right over here, he learned with his Rebbe, Rabbi Yisachar, who was a Tzaddik Nister from them. This is where he learned. And before I decided, when I made my decision to come here, my father appeared to me, and he told me that when you go to Lubavitch, you should build your shul right on top of the place where I learned when I was 10 years old, in that place. For 102 years, I think, Lubavitch stayed in Lubavitch, meaning it became Lubavitch. There were 4 Rabbeim who lived in Lubavitch. The Mittler Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, the Rebbe Marash, and the Rebbe Rashab. At the time of the First World War, the Rebbe Rashab left Lubavitch and he ran to Rostov, but Lubavitch became the center. It was started by the Mittler Rebbe. Chaim.
Ayenda mama yo ye da 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 ye da 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 yo ya ye da da mama mama ay ay ma ye da da oy ve ya mama mama yo yo ay na mama mama oh ya da ya mama mama yo ya da ay da ya ay da da ya da 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 ya da 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 ma ay ya oy ve ya mama ya ay ya
Zalmi says that this Farbrengen should bring Mashiach. Chaim. Al nifloisech, avi al yeshuvaisech. Al nisech, avi al nifloisech, avi al yeshuvaisech. Al nisech, al halel imcha agadal. La ida isolal l'shemcha agadol al nisecha al nifloisech al Yeshua isecha al nisecha al nifloisech al Yeshua isecha al nifloisech al Yeshua isecha al nisecha al nifloisech al Yeshua isecha al nisecha al nifloisech al Yeshua isecha l'shemcha al nisecha al Yeshua isecha al nisecha al Yeshua isecha The Mittler Rebbe had, from his mother's side, the Alter Rebbe's wife's family, were wealthy family, big Talmidei Chachamim, but really were not too excited about Chassidus. Yeah, the Segal family, they were not too excited about Chassidus. Even though the Alter Rebbe, they had a son-in-law like the Alter Rebbe, and imagine that. Imagine that. You can have think about 7 generations later what the Alter Rebbe created in the world. And the family disliked him. He was an outcast. So they were very upset when the Mittler Rebbe had such success and such thousands of Chassidim. You realize that in the days of the Mittler Rebbe, Chassidus Chabad like quadrupled from the days of the Alter Rebbe. It was huge. And also the Mittler Rebbe they wanted to do a shidduch with him. They wanted that. And the Mittler Rebbe didn't want to do shidduchim with the family. So they were very upset. And that's why they decided to try again what they tried in Yutas Kislev with the Alter Rebbe, and it didn't work, so they tried it with the Mittler Rebbe. So they decided to lodge a complaint, an accusation against the Mittler Rebbe. What? His own family. The Snagdus to the Alter Rebbe was from Vilna. This was a family thing. People from the Mishpacha, they went and they put in an accusation. The Mittler Rebbe collected money for the Yishuv in Eretz Yisrael. By the way, the Mittler Rebbe sent up a lot of Chassidim to Eretz Yisrael. And the Mittler Rebbe also asked that the Chassidim who lived in Tzfas and Tveria, because then the early Chassidim lived in Tzfas and Tveria, the Mittler Rebbe started the Yishuv in Chevron. For whatever reason, the Rebbe once spoke about it, why the Mittler Rebbe wanted to start a Jewish presence in Chevron. So the Mittler Rebbe bought the shul. He bought a piece in Eretz Yisrael. He purchased it. And the shul that's called the Shul of Avram Avinu. The reason why it's called the Shul of Avram Avinu was because the story is told that there was a small a minyan there was a group of Yidden who lived in Chevron, and they generally didn't have a minyan. They only had like 8, 9, whatever Jews. But only when the villagers would come, they would have a minyan. As they didn't have a minyan. So once came Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, and what happened was a lot of people wanted to go daven in Yerushalayim. So they left, and they were left with only 9 Jews. And they were very, very, very upset, and they were in a lot of pain that they're going to come Yom Kippur, the holiest day, and they're not going to have a minyan. So when it came Mamish almost Yom Kippur, and they were in such pain, suddenly an old man came. He got so excited with their guest, the Yid at center. And he came, and they offered him to eat. And he said, no, he had already Suda Samafsekas, he's okay. So then he joined them the whole Yom Kippur for davening. Motzi Yom Kippur, they had a little, I think, raffle on who's going to be Zoycha to take the Yid home to his house to break the fast. The Shamus in the shul won them. So he took him with him. On the way, when he got too close to his house, he suddenly disappeared. They were looking and looking. He was looking all over him. It hurt him so much. So then he sat down to his meal. He was crying, and then he fell asleep. And in his dream, the old man appeared to him. And he said, you should know that I'm Avram Avinu. I live around in the neighborhood right over here. And I saw how much pain you had for not having the minyan. I decided to come join you. Yeah. So he came by, and from that time, that shul is called the shul of the Avram Avinu. And the Mittler Rebbe bought that shul, and he started a yishuv in Chevron. His own daughter was once very, very sick with typhus. The Mittler Rebbe had his daughter, Menucha Rachel. She was very sick. She almost was a Fianna Welt. The Mittler Rebbe gave over. I don't know if he himself told her or he sent to tell her that she should know she's going to be better. She's going to get not only that, but her ultimate dream. She had a very big, very strong desire to go to Eretz Yisrael. She will realize her dreams. So she went to Eretz Yisrael. She's buried in Chevron, Menucha Rachel. Any case, so the Mittler Rebbe was involved in the Yishuv of Eretz Yisrael, and he collected money. And I think the amount of money that they collected was like 31,000 ruble or whatever. It was a decent sum. What these guys did was they forged the papers, and they added a 1, and it showed that they collected 131, not ruble, 131,000. I don't know what kind of coin it was. It was a massive amount of money. And they said that this was money that he was, again, they tried the same old story that he's sending it to Turkey, and because that's where the monies would go through, and he wants to overthrow them, whatever. They made such a libel. They also said, and here's an amazing thing. The Misnagdim always get it right before the Chassidim. They said that the Mittler Rebbe built his shul to be the exact size of the Beis HaMikdash. And so you see that he wants to see himself as a Jewish king, and that's what he's seeking to do. When the Chassidim found out that they want to arrest the Mittler Rebbe, they pleaded with whoever was in charge, and being that the Alter Rebbe had gained so much points with the Russians because of his assistance to the Tsar against Napoleon, they were able to achieve this. They shouldn't arrest him. Instead, they should invite the Mittler Rebbe himself to come to Vitebsk, and where there's going to be the trial, and he should be able to, but he shouldn't be arrested. He should be able to go himself. So they gave this to them, and a couple of important officers came to visit the Mittler Rebbe in his house, and they basically explained why they're there. They said that he has to come to Vitebsk, and they also checked out. They went and they did a search. They looked for all papers. They couldn't find anything, and they left. And the Mittler Rebbe had to leave and travel. He came to Vitebsk. They didn't take him to a prison. They let him stay in the house of the governor, but he was under house arrest. The Chassidim asked that they should be able to let a minyan in. So they gave permission. During the entire time that he was in jail, or when he was in house arrest, he had a minyan 3 times a day. They allowed 20 Chassidim into him. And he was allowed to say Chassidus as well. I think twice a week he said Chassidus for the Chassidim. Anyways, the Mittler Rebbe refuted all the charges that were against him. And then, at the very end, they said that the official conclusion needs to be done in person. The Rebbe has to be there. And the accuser is also supposed to be. The accuser was a relative. His name was Simcha something. So, when the Mittler Rebbe was told that he has to go to an official court or whatever, the Mittler Rebbe dressed himself up. He asked they should bring him his Shabbosdige clothing. The Mittler Rebbe used to dress in white. His Shabbosdige clothing, his shtreimel. And he literally looked like a malach elikim. He didn't look like a human being. And the Chassidim were afraid that if the Mittler Rebbe is going to come in like that, it's going to show that he's really thinking of royalty. But the Mittler Rebbe didn't listen, and he just did what he wanted to do. And when he came, he made a huge impression on the governor or whoever was there. Huge impression. And he had tremendous derech eretz, and he sat him down. And then the accuser was there. And the accuser started giving his accusations. And in the midst of this whole thing, and in the midst of this whole thing, he referred to the Mittler Rebbe, and he said, Rebbe. So the Mittler Rebbe turns to them and he says, take a look. He accuses me as a liar, as is this, and he himself calls me Rebbe. Anyways, the governor got so upset at this guy. You know, he sent the Mittler Rebbe home. He said, and he, in the middle, he got angry and he said to him, "Can you stop barking?" And Bichlal, when he was trying to talk, all of his arguments were just coming out, just totally confused. He wasn't making any sense. The whole thing was just like a total epic failure. And he was sent home. And that was the end. The Mittler Rebbe had to go back to house arrest. On the 10th day of Kislev, the daughters of the Mittler Rebbe decided to go ask that they should already pardon their father. When they came to the governor and they broke out crying, saying, "Please, our father, you see our father is innocent, let him out." The governor said, it's already done, he's out already. It's free, he's free. So then, when they came back, the Mittler Rebbe had already gotten the news that he's free to go home. He asked all the police, all the soldiers, whoever were watching him, guarding him, to leave the house. Suddenly the house of the governor, where he wasn't arrested, became a big fabrengen. Hundreds of Chassidim packed in. And the Mittler Rebbe said Chassidus there. It was like mamish, like, the prison itself became. So the Mittler Rebbe was freed then. It was Yud Kislev. And they never ever got to celebrate, because that summer, 2 years before that, Nikolai became the Tsar. And that summer, he issued a decree that they should take the little kids to the army. That was that summer. And the Mittler Rebbe was very, 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 very disturbed by this decree. It was horrible for the Jews in Russia. And the Mittler Rebbe, Bichlal, was very afraid of the year Tov Kuf Peches. That year scared him, for whatever reason. The Mittler Rebbe said there's a lot of dinim, there's a lot of judgments. So therefore the Mittler Rebbe said that he wants to go to his father's oihel to daven on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. He wants to spend it in Hadich. So the Mittler Rebbe left Lubavitch, left all the Chassidim, and the group of Chassidim came along with him, and they went to Hadich, and the Mittler Rebbe spent their slichas, and I think, and the Rosh Hashanah, He said a lot of Chassidus in Hadich, in the shul there next to them. And they spent there the whole Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the whole Tishrei. Sukkot and everything by his father's oil. But the Mittler Rebbe said as follows. He said an interesting, he said, my father was 54 years old when he was taken the second time to Petersburg. And he was given a choice, either suffering or chas v'shalom stalkus. And he chose suffering. That's what he said. He chose suffering, Yisroel. Looks like, for me, they only left the second choice. Then the Mittler Rebbe said, after one of the times he was by his father in Hadich there, but during that Rosh Hashanah, the Mittler Rebbe said, "Oh, Baruch Hashem, chab ois gepoilt beim Taten." I have, what do you say, ois gepoilt? I have achieved by my father that I should be exempt from the Rabbanis. They should release me from my Rabbanis, from his rabbinate. Chassidim didn't understand what he's talking about because the Mittler Rebbe was young. So they thought he meant that he wants to go to Eretz Yisrael. So they said, Rebbe, who are you leaving us? You can't leave us. The Rebbe says, you have Menachem Mendel, my son-in-law. It's interesting. The Mittler Rebbe said, my father was 54 years old when he was given that choice, and he chose the suffering, and he left me the other choice. So the Mittler Rebbe at that time was 54 years old as well. The Mittler Rebbe was on his way back home from Hadich after Tishrei back to Lubavitch, and he stopped in Liège, and that's where he became sick, and that's where he passed away in Kislev. So it was just a short, and you see it's interesting. The Alter Rebbe passed away because of the Gezerah of Napoleon, because of that war, Apipashtas. And the Mittler Rebbe was a fight against Nikolai and the Gezerah of the Kantonisten. I never really put that two together, but that's just an interesting thing. Now this Malshin, the family member who was the one who did all the accusations against the Mittler Rebbe, he was a wealthy man until that point. After this story, he lost all of his. You have to just hear this last thing. After the story, he lost all of his money. Mamash became a pauper. And not only that, he became a shikar. He became a drunk. And he would literally lie on the street in drunkardness. And on Yud Kislev, once a year, he would come to the Chassidish shul, and he would come into the Fabrengen. This was the Fabrengen celebrating the release of the Mittler Rebbe. And he would say to the Chassidim, he would say, I too have a chelik in this Yom Tov. Give it a bissel mashke, give it. And they would give him to drink. They would give him to drink, and he would drink himself. And that was a sad story with this fellow. Yeah. L'chaim, Mechi. Oy na Ropshetz Chassidic, sto jest tam me bodje, me panja nakash tankash tam bod kabodje na shon. Ay it didn't ay. Mechi, where were you till now? Ay, that was geweldig. Ay, I felt you here. Ay, we haven't hung out in a long time. This week. Tomorrow morning we have the you'll enjoy it. Come for Shachas. 8 o'clock. Tomorrow morning at 8, guys. I see you like this Fabrengen better than the other ones. Can't tell anybody. Mittler Rebbe is the closest we've ever got to the Hisgalus of Yemais HaMashiach in terms of his flow of Ein Sof Pnimius HaTorah. So the realization of the Mittler Rebbe is Bias HaMashiach. Chaim. Torah Chadasha Me'iti Teitzel. Chaim. Shkoyach Eitan. Agutava. Agutava. Michi, you had some pizza? We ate already. That's a chiddush, that after all that you still came. Be well.
Anybody else want to bench?
I dam, da di di da 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 di 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 dam. Da di da da di da di da di da dam. Amavdil ben koy dash la khol khatoy say no yim khol zarein no khasbei no yar vekhoy ve khakoy khavim baloy no no boy pono ketzel koy men aklolo kelo lai koy men ayam bashoy men asaboyke ay asaboyke vegam. Let's hear it from Michal. What a night. The yayin make the chatoy say no. Yeyin chol. Zarein no chasbei no. Yare bekachol. Shida malos. Whatever you bring.
Eliyahu Tzvi or Elliot Barden.
What's your last name?
Barden.
Barden. Oh, okay. Good luck. Good chodesh.
My good friend Elliot, meet my good friend Michi.
Oh, hi again.
Yeah, thank you. That was great.
Thank you.
It was gewaldig.
It was amazing. All the stories were amazing.
I don't know what we're live on, but we're live.
We're live right here.
We're live here.
As long as we're alive.
These days, you're not live until you're live on Facebook. If you're not,
It didn't happen unless you're streaming live.
I heard that story about the Mittler Rebbe like standing for like hours. I remember, I think Rabbi Silverstein told me, Rabbi Silverstein told me about the story. His face was like, and like the way he tells it is like just like easier. You feel like you're there, and he's just like, it's amazing. I heard a story similar with the Rebbe also.
Yeah.
Someone saw the Rebbe, and the Rebbe was like the same way. They
Yeah.
saw the one in the Rebbe's room. They saw the Rebbe was just like.
No, him. What's his name? The guy who climbed through the window to get the Rebbitzin out of the elevator. Oh, what was the? He was
The Rebbetzin was stuck in the elevator.
She was stuck, not a 770, the Rebbe's house. There's an elevator. So she was stuck in the elevator, and Chesed Halberstam. So he came to get her out. She called. But the problem was he couldn't get in, a whole story. So they said to go through the Rebbe's room. And he had to climb through, but the Rebbe was standing right by the looking out the window. He was terrified, but he had no choice because the Rebbetzin was there. So he just went in.
You're saying the Rebbe was.
And then he later asked Mechila, the Rebbe said, for what? He says, I have no idea. The Rebbe was standing looking with his eyes wide open right out the window. And he came right through it. He wasn't there. Yes.
That's amazing.
After her.
Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
So she should be blessed.
Is your name DovBer?
She should be blessed. Who wants to bench? Betzal, you can bench for us.
Oh, it's great. Some of this Lubavitch is so. Got a good crowd here, and some of this Lubavitch really good. I don't mean highlight, but it was like,
Yeah, it was a very deep evening tonight. Like, yeah, just like we could.
Stories also. The Midler Rebbe, it's amazing, is actually one of my favorite things to learn during Hanukkah. Shari Ora.
Yeah.
They have the things that put out flames. It's called flames.
Yeah.
So tonight was the first. I didn't even think about it. Tonight was the first time I picked that up the whole holiday season to learn it. It's amazing.
See, the middle of it, it's almost like you don't have to hear stories from him. You just open his Chassidus, you see that he's like
amazing. It's amazing.
It's endless. Lubavitches are always afraid to touch a stein. They're like,
You're right. I was like, is this Mamach, right?
no brachas bei dir, alle gute Sachen. Baruch atah dem, ich will noch mal sagen, so weißt du, lang da was geht am Chazer, du warst ja. Nicht da können wir Chazer. Komm, bis dahin wir gerat sind, wir atah, den sagen es Koil.
You have to make music for bringing the gym center, Habibi. No joke.
Baruch atah den Oretz ala Mazel.
I gave my card to him. Text me your number tonight.
Madlan bei Serosam, Raftas, Vivam, Dantas, the Yinos, Ache, Kach, Boba, Nechel, Dvir, Besechel. Rayani. Wat is er geen nog? Ja, lebe, ja, baby, agi, ja, Biyoim, Rosh Chodesh Hazeh. Ja, kunnen we met het gewoon hebben we aangekomen. Chadish alleen is Chayda. Baruch HaGever, the one that I had on him, Iftach, oi. So, Michal.